Yes, sir. You can start.
Yeah, good morning, students. Now, in today's class, we are going to see the module 6 decision phases. Okay. And in the previous class, we saw the introduction of the supply chain, and then we discussed the scope of the supply chain. Okay. In the last class, we discussed about the evolution of supply chain. In this class, we are going to discuss on the decision phases. Okay, in decision phases, before going to the topic, just a recall. Amazon is the example of supply chain management. One of the example, the main objective of the supply chain is to get the profit and to satisfy the customer. And the supply chain involves product, service, design, supply and transport. It includes manufacturer, supplier, logistic, warehouses, sellers, marketing, distribution, etc. This and all we discussed in detail. And if you take the scope, there is two scopes are there. One is the primary scope and secondary scope. In primary scope is the maximization of the profit, and the secondary scope is to satisfy the customer. This also we discussed in detail with some examples. Okay. And then we discussed on the secondary scope. That is the supplier management, inventory management, distribution management, production management, marketing management, service and finance. So these are the primary and secondary scope of supply chain management. Okay. In the last class, we discussed the importance of supply chain management, in that each and every point have been discussed with an example. Okay. In the exam point of view, you have to write the example and then you have to explain it. Okay. Okay, fine. So these are the importance of supply chain. That is what we discussed in the last class. Okay. Now, in the last class, we discussed the evolution of supply chain, how the supply chain evolved. The initial stage of the supply chain is in 1950. In 1980, the term supply chain management have been coined by Oliver Kenneth, and then it is extended like a concurrent era, globalization era, optimization era, IT era, JIT era, and now we are following the decentralized era. In the decentralized era, best example is the Bitcoin or the blockchain. Okay, this also we discussed in the last class. Now, we are going to the decision phases in the supply chain. What is meant by decision phases? Decision taken in the supply chain for any modifications. Okay, the modification can be anything. Even you can construct a new building, or you can buy some vehicles, or you can take some decision like giving discount or something, subsidiary rates. That is all comes under decision. The decision taken by the owner of the supply chain will affect the performance of the supply chain in the future. Okay, for example, Binni Textiles, you may hear heard about it. It is just opposite to the Meenambakam airport. In 20 years back, the Binni product means it is a credit to the customers. Okay, nowadays you can say if the person is having Benz car, he is seen little higher. If the person is having iPhone, we are saying that person is a little bit higher in the market, in the society. Similarly, if anybody want the Binni cloth, Binni dress, they are kept as the highest person in the society. Now you see, we don't know where is the Binni mill at all, because the Binni mill doesn't flexible to adopt the supply chain, and the decision taken by the Binni mill is the wrong. So now the market, it is not in the market itself. Okay, so the decision taken in the right time in the supply chain only make the supply chain to the success path or to the failure path. So this is what we are going to discuss. In the supply chain decision phases, there are three elements. One is supply chain strategy, supply chain planning, supply chain operation. There are three things are there. This is only the decision. Okay, this is what we are going to discuss in this next topics. Okay, supply chain strategy or design. The decision taken in this phase is for the long-term goal. That is, decision taken now for the things happening after a year or 10 years or 20 years like that. Okay, let us take a LIC policy. what you are doing in the LIC policy. If you sign the LIC policy today, if you opt that policy, the policy will mature after 20 years or 30 years. So this is what the supply chain strategy or design, the decision taken for a long time. Okay, minimum there should be a 1 year time period should be there, then only it is called a supply chain strategy. Okay, lot of examples are there, you will see one by one. First example, establishing a assembly unit in Hyundai. Suppose Hyundai cars are selling rate is very high, so Hyundai want to expand its factory. Okay, if you want to expand its factory, what has to be done? We have to acquire the land, we have to check the construction activity, who are going to construct that factory, government rules, availability of the manpower, demand for next 10 to 15 years. Will the car will be sold in next 10 years or not? That has to be decided. And they have to decide the payback period, when they will get the invested amount back. And the amount invested, manpower requirement, everything has to be checked. Okay, based on the bill, decision has to be taken. Okay, next example, in TCS Sirisari plant, I am going to give you a simple assignment or a case study. If possible, tomorrow you can answer it. Okay, in the TCS, what happens? How they recruit the person. For example, if the TCS in the last year it recruited 10,000 students, means how the 10,000 they arrive. For that there is lot of strategies. For example, the TCS will forecast what are all the projects will come for the 2021 year, and how many persons has to be included in that thing, how many persons required. Based on that only they will predict, they will calculate that amount of students required, and based on that only they will recruit it. Okay, okay. While calculating how many persons, how many engineers required, they will calculate that an engineer will work 8 hours per day minimum. Okay, minimum if an engineer work 8 hours in the TCS, and if he did the project, then only it is possible to complete the project in time. Based on the time period only, number of students or number of required engineers have been calculated in TCS. Okay. Hope you all know this thing. Okay, just I recollected. Okay, now in TCS what happened? That is in 2005, not now. In 2005 in Sirisari plant, what they faced means the tea can, for example, there is a canteen run by the TCS at that time. Okay, the employees or the workers went to the canteen, they had some tea. While they are moving, if you see the Sirisari plant, it is more than 8 floors or 9 floors high, I'm not sure. They will come down, they go to the canteen, they had the tea, and then they will back to the place. In the canteen, they discuss with their friends and other things. Okay, so for single tea break, each employee averagely they are consuming around 25 minutes. Okay, in a day they are going 3 times or 4 times for tea break or lunch break. If you calculate it, itself it became 1.5 hours or 2 hours wastage of the time. So what happened? The project predicted period, it is not possible for the TCS to complete it. Okay, so the project time extends. So the TCS is earning the bad name in the society. So how to avoid it? Again, it is a supply chain. Is it correct? It is tea is provided to the customer or the employee. Again, it is a supply chain. So now the TCS is having a big query how to make the employee to retain minimum 8 hours inside the plant, and 8 hours he has to utilize only for the project programming. Okay, and is it possible? Means it is very difficult, because without the tea the persons will not work. Without lunch nobody can work. But the constraint to the TCS is they have to make them work without tea break, or even if you give tea break, that should not affect that 8-hour period. So TCS has this big question to take some decision. Okay, the TCS took a good decision, so now they are running with good thing. Okay, if possible, tomorrow you can give some answer how to avoid these situations. Okay, next example, bridge constructions. In the bridge constructions, you may where the bridge has to be constructed. Only the place where there is higher traffic congestion, there only bridges has to be constructed. Okay, fine. How to consider, how to know that the traffic congestion is very high? We have to monitor for 1 full year. Then only we have to come to the conclusion whether the bridge is required or not. Next, we have to analyze the land and soil, whether the bridge will withstand here or not. Okay, next thing, strength of the bridge, we have to calculate it. Normally, the strength of the bridge, what will be the strength of a bridge? We are crossing a lot of bridges in our day-to-day life. What will be a strength of the bridge? Okay, it is a big question mark. The strength of the bridge will not be calculated because of the vehicle going on the thing. It will be calculated based on the heavy vehicles, that is military tankers. If it is a bypass or if it is a 100-feet road, the tankers in the war conditions or in war period, the tanker used to go in the road. At the time, that bridge has to withstand the weight of the tanker. If it is a small single road, at the time tanker will not enter in that single road. But military, army lorries, army missile carrying vehicles, they pass in that road. So that vehicle has, if the vehicle passes over the bridge has to withstand. So based on that only, strength has to be calculated. Next, slope of the bridge. You may see in the Adayar bridge, the slope is very high. That is very steep. If you take the bridges in the bypass, it is having less steep only. Okay, less slope. What is the reason? Why they are having different slope for different bridges? Yes, that slope depends upon the previous signal. For example, if a lorry or a bus got breakdown in the mid of the bridge, then the vehicles start accumulating. Okay, if the accumulation started for next 10 minutes, the accumulation should not reach that signal. Based on that only, they will calculate the slope of the bridge. Okay, so like this, they have to take decision. Okay, fine. Next thing is the structure of the supply chain. How the structure will affect the supply chain. Let us take a Ola cab. Any decision taken by the Ola cab is not known to the supplier. Okay, for example, if the Ola cab changes its rate from, for 1 kilometer, it is 8 rupees to 8.8 rupees 10 paise, no one is known about the decision. No one is going to question why the Ola took the decision, nothing. Okay, allocating the cab to the customer. You may notice this thing in your real-time life. You may stand near a Ola cab and you are booking in your mobile, but the nearby cab will not be allocated to you. The cab which is away, minimum 3 kilometers away only allocated to you. Okay, because there is some gimmicks behind that thing. Okay, because if the nearby cab is allotted, the driver will get higher freight rate, so that only it is allotted with some different cabs. Okay, these decisions and all taken by the Ola, but no one can question it. No one has to bother about the decisions also. Okay, next thing. Next structure, petrol price. For every geolocation, the price changes. For Tamil Nadu, the price is different. Kerala, the petrol price is different. Andhra, petrol price is different. This supply chain is dependent on the geographical location. Next thing is the vegetable trade. Here, the supply chain depends upon the seller. Whatever the price decided by the seller is the price of that product. One seller can give tomato at 10 rupees per kg, one can give at 8 rupees per kg, depend upon the seller. So, based on the structure only, the decision has to be taken in the supply chain. And next thing, the decision will be affected by the stakeholders. For example, if the dependent stakeholder, for example, gold seller or share market, let us take a gold seller. Or some some sellers cannot be assigned the gold rate. Gold rate will be decided by a central agency. Whatever the amount decided by that agency, the gold sellers have to follow it. Today the gold rate is 4,000 rupees, means GRT cannot fix the rate of 4,000 rupees. GRT has to obey what that committee said. That has to be followed by the GRT. Okay, so this is what we call as dependent shareholder. Here the stakeholder have not been able to take decisions. Next thing is the independent stakeholders. Independent stakeholder means, let us take a dress shop or the fashion showrooms. Okay, there the shop owner has to take decision what is the price of that material, price of that shirt, price of that churidar. Okay, it is the independent stakeholder. The same Alan Sole product can be sold at different price in the different showrooms. Even you take Amazon, same product, sold by different prices by the different sellers. So these are called as independent stakeholders. Next is the professional stakeholder, proportional stakeholders. Proportional means if the petrol price, crude oil price increases in the global market, petrol price increases. If the crude oil decreases, petrol price decreases. This is what we call as proportional stakeholders. So decision taken depend upon the type of the stakeholders. Okay, proportional stakeholders, dependent stakeholder, we can't do anything. Okay, so this is one of the factor. Next thing is the resource allocation. Okay, resource allocation means monopoly allocation. If you take Pothys may construct or Pothys may extend its branch all over the cities in the Tamil Nadu and India. Nobody can question them because the Pothys is a monopoly thing. Okay, GRT is a monopoly. They can have any number of showrooms in any cities or anywhere. Decision is taken only by that owner. Okay, but if you take KPN Travel, that is the franchise allocation. KPN doesn't have that much money or that much resource. But by giving franchise, they can enlarge their number of buses. Okay, more than 50% of buses maybe belong to a franchise also. Nilgiris is not a single supermarket. They are giving franchise everywhere. Okay, so this is franchise allocation. Next is the distributor allocation. Shell petrol pump. It is called as distributor allocation. The bunk, what is the dimension, what should be there, how the structure should be, what should be the topology, everything given by the main head office, that is the Shell. Okay, they have to follow what they are saying. Okay, this is what we call as distributor allocation. Share allocation. Mobile tower. If you take the mobile tower, in a single tower, you can see Vodafone tower dish will be there, Airtel dish will be there, Idea dish will be there. Everything will be in a single tower because they are sharing the tower, sharing the allocations. Okay, next thing. What are the process to be performed? Based on that only we have to take the decision. Okay, manufacturing, assembly, distribution, service, design. So there are different processes are going on. Based on the process only we have to take the decision. Suppose in the design, we are taking a decision that the product should be, for example, the cell phone should be in the size of 1 mm by 1 mm. Okay, is it possible to manufacture by that micro manufacturing industry? Is it possible to manufacture a microprocessor of 1 by 1 millimeter? Definitely it is not possible. Okay, so based on the process only, we have to take the decision. Okay, next thing, process to be outsourced. What are the process to be manufactured inside the plant and what are the process to be outsourced by the suppliers? Okay, suppose first thing is the risk process. Let us take in ATM and all, they are filling the money. Okay, none of the bank will fill the money in their ATM. They will outsource some third-party security agencies. The agency have to collect the money from the bank and they have to deposit in the ATM machines because it is the risk factor. So that can be rented for the third party. And manpower management. If you take colleges and industry, the security persons, housekeeping person will not be a belongs to the employee of that concern, employee of that firm. They are the employee of some other third-party security agency or manpower agency. The manpower agency having a contract with the firm and based on that they are supplying the manpower. Okay. Next is inventory-less business. OYO rooms. If you take OYO, they are not having any rooms or any hotels anywhere else. But they are having link with the hotels which is already existing. So this is what we call as inventory-less. Fast track, best example. Okay. Okay, the fast track, now the failure of the fast track is because the decision taken by the fast track is wrong. So that only this happened. Fast track refused to have a online app for booking in the initial stages. So the decision makes the fast track to lose its market. Now the fast track market is very worst in the Chennai city. Okay, so the decision plays a major role. Okay, rare and maintenance process, something we have to take the decision based on that thing. Okay, next is the expansions. Suppose if you want to expand the existing things, is it possible to expand the Sarana store in T Nagar? Definitely not possible. So what the Sarana store is doing, they are constructing new building everywhere in the city. Okay, but if you take for best example is IIT. IIT want to expand its structure, even though it is having enough land and other things. They constructed IIT Madras on design in Kanchipuram. Okay, why they did like that? Because the decision is taken like that. Even though, for example, Sarana store, they are not having enough space, so they are constructing new things in different places. But IIT is having enough space, even though they are constructing IIT in Kanchipuram. Okay. Okay. Next thing is the stakeholders. Francis, Talabagat Biryani, KPM, they are giving franchise to this third parties. Okay. So these are some of the expansions of their business or their supply chain. Okay. And next thing, based on the location, we have to take decision. Best example, last year you can see a decathlon in front of our college. Okay, the decathlon, it is very neatly designed. It is very good shop. It is having all the available sports materials and everything inside it. Having the playground to play, having the good parking area, everything is there. But the business is failed because the wrong decision taken based on the location. If you take Mayajal, it is also outside the city. Decathlon also outside the city. But Mayajal, there is very high crowd. Okay, because they took the decision like that. So the location decision is very, very important. Now the Decathlon is shifted to Mugapet. There it is going good. Okay, the decision is the right decision now. Similarly, service center, airport, railway stations. That is the service provider. We have to go there, and that should be accessible. Okay, outcome center, Kargil. That is how, even though if you go to the Kargil means it is very, very difficult to reach the place. But based on the outcome, you have to go there. So that is based on the location decision. And the facility decision. Input center, finance center, like that it has to be goes. Because there is time constraint, so I am just skip those things. And next influence of this, capacity of the production. Capacity. I am having only one machine means based on that only I have to take the decision. Okay. For example, if I want to make a hand wash for a COVID in my home itself, I am having only one gas stove. That means my decision should be, if it is possible for me to produce only 10 bottles means my decision can be production of 11 bottles or 12 bottles. I cannot take decision to produce 20 bottles. If I take decision, what will happen? I have to mix some more water. At the time, what happens? Quality goes down. The product will not be sold in the market. I have to lose my market. So decision has to be taken only based on the demand, marketing, capacity, forecasting, growth, and based on the customer. Okay, buses will run in the route based on the customer need only. We cannot run the buses to all the routes. Okay. And next thing, payback period. When the invested amount will get back. Immediate payback decisions. Hotels, Coimbatore markets. In the morning they will invest some amount. In the evening they will get back that amount back. Okay, so the decision taken on that thing will not affect the supply chain much. Next is intermediate payback, mobile phone, EMI. This and all called as intermediate payback. In the period of 1 year or 2 years, they can get back their money. So they can give EMI at zero interest also. Okay, because it is the intermediate payback. Next is the long-term payback, loan, housing loan. This and all called as long-term payback. Okay, in this thing, they have to get profit means they have to increase the interest. If you take housing loan, in the initial period, they will have the higher interest rate. In the latter period, the interest rate decreases. Okay, so this is what we call as the long term. Next is the service payback, toll gates. They are providing the facility for the good road, so they are collecting the toll gates, toll charges. Okay, nil payback. Without any payback, they have to work. Best example, military, air force. Every year, the Indian government is buying some aircraft from Germany and missiles from some other countries. Okay, why they are buying? Will they get any payback? Definitely not. Because of the military, they will not get any payback. Even though they have to take decision, they have to buy the aircraft and they have to buy the weapons. Then only India will be secured. Okay, so this is the decision taken based on the payback periods. And next is the warehousing facility. Warehousing facility means nil inventory, Royal Enfield. In Royal Enfield, you cannot see not even a single stock, not even a single bolt in the storeroom. In Royal Enfield company, there is nothing called as the storeroom or stock room or warehouses. Okay, so that is what we call as nil inventory. Next is the distributed inventory. Apollo Medicines is the best example of distributed inventory. In your big states, you can see the Apollo medical medical stores in more, 3 or 4 medical stores in a single street. Why they are having that much franchise means it is because of the decision taken on distributed inventory. For example, there is 10 rare medicines which cannot be sold regularly. At the time, what the Apollo supply chain will do means they will distribute two medicines to each medical stores. Okay. For example, if you want to buy a Pinom tablet, if you go to a medical store and ask, I need Pinom 20 medical, give me. The Pinom may not be available in that medical store, but it will be available in the nearby medical store. So that person will run to the nearby medical store, they will get it from there and they will give it to you. You can practice this thing in your real life also. Okay, this is what the Apollo Medical's decision making based on the warehouse facility. They will not store all the medicine in a single medical store. They will have a computer. If you search in that computer, the computer database will tell you where that medicine is available or not. Okay, next is the supplier inventory, ISRO. The supplier doesn't know for what the product is made, but they have to made for the drawing given by them and they have to give it to ISRO. ISRO may assemble the satellites and rockets and missiles and they will do their activity. So that is a supplier inventory. Without knowing what for the product, the supplier will manufacture that thing. Next is the spare inventory. Spare wheel in the car. All the cars comes with a spare wheel. But what we are doing, we are taking the decision to remove the spare wheel because it is giving some unlook or there is no ergonomics on the thing, so we are removing it. Okay, this is the taken by the owner of the car to remove the spare wheel from the car in that supply chain. Okay. Next is the demand inventory, vegetable at the time of COVID. Suppose if the lockdown is announced, what we are doing, we are storing the vegetables in our fridge. So this is the decision taken based on the demand by us for the warehouse facility. Even the fridge is a warehouse for our houses. Okay, next is the service inventory, RO water filter. Once if you bought the RO from any company, you will get the regular monthly calls or some person will stand in front of your door at least once in 3 months to change the filter and other thing. So this is what we call as the warehouse decision taken on the warehouse facilities. Okay, next is the mode of transportation. We have to take the facility, air cargo or ship cargo or land cargo or monopoly cargo or manual cargo. Okay, if you want to have other car, decision has to be taken that the person has to come in person. Okay, and they have to provide they have to prove that they are alive. So this is what we call as the mode of transportation. We have to take the decisions. And next thing is the supply chain planning. That is the phase 2. This is the decision taken for the medium term goals. That is less than 1 year or 6 months, like that. So this is the medium phases, and I am not going to in depth. And example, exchange offer, audit discount given by the fashion showrooms or dress textile industries, textile showrooms comes under this thing. It is the medium term planning. Next is the supply chain operation, that is the phase 3, very short-term decisions, short-term goals and targets, they have to take the decisions. Okay, here they have to satisfy the customer needs. Best example, clearance sale in textile showrooms. Okay, so these are the things. So the decision phases, there is 3 types. One is the long-term decision phase, medium-term and short-term. So in these 3 decision phases will decide whether the supply chain is a successful or failure supply chain. Okay, best decision will have the success and the worst decision will be the failure. Amazon took the best decision in all these 3 cases, so they are succeeded. The Binny Textiles take the bad decision in all the 3 cases, so they attain the failure. Okay, so up to this, if you have any doubt, you can ask us, or otherwise we can wind this class now. Okay. Is there any doubt? Please put it in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and then ask. Hope in this subject you will not have much doubt, because this is not a that much difficult subject. The subject is only the things what you are seeing in your day-to-day life. Every day you are seeing this subject only, but the terms, supply chain decision, supply chain strategy. This decisions only varies. The decisions only you may not know. For example, if you are low, then Sundays is the full lockdown. So you are deciding to store something in your fridge. So that is the decision taken on the warehouse. Okay. Anyway, you are going to store the vegetables. It is comes under the warehouse decision making. Okay. Only you have to link the things what you are seeing in your daily life with the technical terms. Okay. Due to time constraint in the last two topics, just we ran away fast. If needed, next class I will explain it in detail. Okay. Okay, sir. As the time is over, I will discuss the Apollo medical store process in the supply chain in the next class. Okay. And the absentees are Abhinesh, Guna, and Santosh Kumar. If any of these three is in the class, please